Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Pattrick.
Thank you. 1, 2. Do you notice how he walked off with the mic as well? Right, thank you very much for giving me some time. The first thing I want to do is get the elephant out of the room. Yes, I am from the north. You'll be okay, don't worry. I've got control of this. So I own a company, actually the founder of a company called Dapatchi, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a moment. But when Matt suggested that I speak here, which I'm very grateful for, I wanted to deliver some real value. I wanted to not just stand here and tell a story, I wanted to stand here and talk about something that I think will deliver value, particularly to developers in the room. So I took a deep breath, asked myself what big problems that I've had over the years. One was deal flow, one was cash flow, and one was quality of delivery. So I intend to tell a story, deliver that content, and reduce a 1-hour presentation to 20 minutes. That's my goal. So please stick with me if I'm speaking a little quick at times. First of all, to let you know who I am, the Dapatchi Group comprises of many different companies. We've got an architecture firm, a construction firm, we have an electrical installation firm, we've got a company called Dapatchi Homes, which is a social enterprise. That's about delivering quality products back to affordable markets. We've got Dapatchi Limited, which is a long story. We've got Dapatchi Property Developments, which is our own developments. And we've got a company called Dapatchi Concepts, which is a management tool that we use to consolidate all of these different items. It's not just me, that's our board of directors. We're from all over the UK and we develop nationwide, we work nationwide, our construction company's nationwide, and I have no idea why we decided to do that because it's been a ridiculously bad headache. But this is the team, so we've got Grazina, who's the legal director, we've got Joanne's finance director, Mark is my operations director who was meant to be with me tonight and I'm very disappointed in for the purpose of recording. That's me. Tim runs Dapatchi Homes, that's my construction manager, that's Tom, our design director, and Jen runs Dapatchi Limited. So it's not just about us. So that's the directors, that's our management team, that's our staff, that's some of our vehicles. And right now we have £43 million in active projects. We've got a 4-year work funnel, which is relatively unique in the development space. And that's really what I want to touch upon today. We have national coverage. We've got a multidiscipline team. We cover our own projects and client work, which is, again, something I want to touch upon. And we do commercial to residential as our primary kind of strategy. We do a bit of new build. We do a bit of commercial building, but it's mainly commercial to residential developing. So that's kind of who we are. And I wanted to get that out of the way quickly before I led into kind of where we came from. So I founded Dapatchi in 2015, a big plan, a big dream, no clue and no cash. So this has all been formed over the last 3 years, which feels like an absolute eternity and an absolute lifetime. I've been developing for 10 years, but this actual entity has only appeared over the last 3 years. And the reason this has been formed is this, turning your problems into your opportunities. Now, would you forgive me just very quickly telling my story about how I got to this stage? Is that something is relatively interesting to people? I'm a very needy speaker. I'm very, very needy. So is that interesting to people? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Right, so I promise I won't be long and it will give you an insight into the mind of a madman. Really, I am a madman in my own personal world. And I think that's something that's important to be said, because I think we all sit here in property meetings. I'm going to leave these slides on, I'm not embarrassed, what the hell. I'll see it through, we'll do it. Take it in. I think we all sit here in these kind of networking events and we all come from a really professional space, which is really great, but you know, we're all human beings, we're all people. And that's kind of where my story started. So, like all good property stories, this one starts on a ship. So after I left school, I joined the Merchant Navy, travelled the world. It was amazing. I wanted to continue education, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be in a classroom, so I joined the Merchant Navy. I then left because I decided I needed a lip piercing, and apparently that's not okay. I then joined Game as a store manager. It was at the time called Electronics Boutique. I actually joined as a Christmas temp and got myself to a store manager. Then I left because I was headhunted by Tesco's. I don't quite know what I'm allowed to say in terms of recording, but we'll get there. I left Tesco's in a glorious showdown when they really upset me. So there's a thing coming here though. Then I went on a year of discovery, and by a year of discovery, I mean drinking heavily. Then I rejoined the Merchant Navy, because if you can't go backwards, if you can't go forwards, you've got to go backwards. Then I left again. Then I was laying in bed with my partner, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, let's move to Doncaster, which, just so you know, no sentence ever starts with. But I said, let's move to Doncaster and build this. So I embraced my full hippie, became an expert of crystals, stones, that kind of things, and opened a market store, which I actually built by hand, called The Enchanted Way, which was absolutely fantastic. Then one day, a friend of mine came to me and said, exact words, Dan, well, I'm paraphrasing, it's not exact words. Dan, I've got a contract clearing out some properties, doing some general maintenance for a lettings company. So I went and bought that because I thought to myself, that sounds like an opportunity. I'd seen people in property. I knew that property was the place where wealth was generated. So I jumped on board. So we started doing that. It went really well. We were working for an agency. I was basically clearing out houses. We were fixing the odd bit and bob here. Then the agents said to me, we'd like you to go and do a refurbishment of this property. To which I thought, shit. And then I thought, well, how do I do that? And then I came up with a solution. iPad plus YouTube equals results. That's what I found out. And my approach to this solution was what I learned at Tesco's, the wonderful Tesco's. I went the extra mile, and I did it from a place of every little helps. So that went really well. I did a few of them. I was like, oh, I'm for refurbishing properties now. I was clearing them out before. Before that, I owned a market store. So then, I got asked the question, can you redevelop a property into a HMO? So I thought about it. And my initial thought was, what's a HMO? So then, I got my iPad back out, I got my YouTube on the go, and I went, of course I can. And it went really well. And just a bit of joking aside, over the course of about 18 months, I developed all them HMOs. And I did that in different roles. I did that as an owner, I did it as a consultant, I did it as a general manager to a firm, I did it as a contractor. They were all in different spaces. And then that went really well. So then, same person said to me, how about some commercial to residential developing? I had to think about it. I thought how hard that can be. I got my stuff back out, and I went, of course I can. Then, I found out about Section 106, sound regulations, fire regulations, building regulations, planning permissions, party wall, senior day. Basically, the list goes on. And my next reaction was, oh shit. Because I'd sunk myself in here. I'd really committed to doing this. And I'd committed to doing this on a relatively major scale for somebody with the experience that I had. And I was developing relatively major projects, 15,000 square foot properties, the kind of scale we were at that time. But the good news is, it was my first major deal, and that list there, I learnt all in one deal. And the truth is, I did it. And now you can see I've gone to wearing a suit, because now I'm feeling a bit smarter about myself. I'm feeling quite proud. Then we did it again and again and again and again. And just for full disclosure, during this time, I did operate as a property mentor. I do apologise. And I was creating quite a substantial rent-to-rent portfolio. I had about 350 units. That was stuff that I was building in the background. Then in 2015, as I do, I tend to leave in glorious fashion. I went, right, new mission. So we started the Dapatchi Group. And what we do today, we find buildings that look like that. We design things like this, and then we create things like this. So that's a development we've just handed over. Currently, for clients, we're developing all of these. They're all over the different parts of the world. Taunton, Milton Keynes, Woodley. Yeah, the world. The UK, all right. In terms of what we own, we own this in Brighton. That's an old school house that we're developing. It's something we're doing with the wonderful Grazina. That's been a challenge, but we are getting there. We own this in Sheffield. We own this in Leek. And this, I thought would be a great idea to go and buy. This is an old dilapidated mill in Hanley. That was the facade you saw, and it's all of this. And for some reason, we feel like we can deliver that. But I'm fairly confident we can. That's been owned by 5 different parties. They've all hit different hurdles, moved on. I've got, like I say, we've got in-house architecture, we've got in-house support, we've got in-house construction, so I'm fairly confident where the people are going to deliver a result there. I have really great partnerships with companies like a company called Rowenti. There's some people in the room that are into modern technologies. Rowenti is an amazing thing. I work with Yes Electrical on all deals. Right, getting to the point. This is what I thought would be great value for developers. Can I just show of hands who's developers in the room? Cool, there's a few of us. This is actually content worth having. So most people think that I've got a very complicated group structure. That's the reality, and they think that I've got that without good reason. Most people don't understand what exactly I do as a company. So when people go, what do you do? And I say, I'm a developer, they go, well, yeah, but you own a construction company, you're a contractor, or you're an architecture company, you're an architect. So they don't understand really what we do. Most people don't understand why we do it and why we don't just focus on one area. That's something that I get all the time. So, you know, if you're going to focus on architecture, be an architect. If you're going to focus on construction, be in construction. Most people think I complicate things, which I don't. I look for the simplest route forwards at all times. That's kind of one of my go-to positions. Most people think I'm trying to build an empire. That's the thing that I always get told. You know, how's the Dapatchi empire going? How's the Dapatchi empire going? I'm not. That's not where I'm coming from at all. I'm coming from solving a problem. Most people think we're spread a bit too thin. Most people think what we do is beyond them. That's the other thing that I always get as well. They think that what we're doing is beyond them. But the truth is most people are wrong. So I said today I was going to talk about, if I say they're wrong in my world, they're wrong, that's where I came from. But I said that we'd talk about deal flow, cash flow, and quality delivery, because I believe truly that they're the 3 biggest problems that developers have. Finding the next bloody deal, it's hard work sometimes. Finding the cash to keep yourself going between developments and making sure that quality delivery is there. In my mind, having gone through this over and over again over 10 years, they're the problems that I keep coming against. So to overcome these problems, I was thinking outside the box, trying to come up with solutions, and I was prepared to do anything, because I'm sure in the pursuit of your businesses, everybody's prepared to do what it takes to get to where they need to be. So this was my business model. I had Dapatchi properties, so I had no cash flow, I had limited deal flow, I had no resource to manage. I was calling myself the manager of this business, I had nothing to manage. I had limited capital to invest. You know, what kind of money do you get from selling a market stall? I had limited market positioning, I had no scale, no scope, no real incentive for agents to work with us. I was geographically limited, I was stuck in the wonderful Doncaster. I was working 100 hours a week and I was lucky to achieve a salary doing that. And I think that's a story that I see replicated with developers. So by setting up this entire group and starting from the ground floor, what happens is architecture, construction, limited concepts and electrical, just to give you some background, Dapatchi Limited is a social media entity. All these things force deal flow through to property developments and homes. And in return, these companies provide them work, which removes the deal flow problem. So in terms of front-end benefits from a structure like this, we get great deal flow, we get stronger market positioning because we've got this national footprint, we have work that leads to work, we've got multiple different sources of inquiries, anybody across the company is incentivized to, so if the electrical company provides a contract to the construction company, then the electrical company get paid for that. So the whole group is incentivized to work with each other. It's quicker, faster and more accurate when it comes to estimating. You know, the developers, when you walk into the world of getting quotes, when you're going into working with builders, it can take a long time to get an accurate quote. And then there's the whole building regs issue versus, I can't give you an accurate quote until we've got that, but you might not be at that stage and you need to estimate the price of your deal, and all that stuff comes in. So I found that it worked a lot quicker. It gave me immediate scheme design. So I can get scheme design in terms of square box design within minutes. We've got a national footprint and it was easily established, and it's stronger for finance and investment. Back-end benefits, we get cash flow from all these different companies. So I think one of the things that developers generally struggle with is you got the deal here, you can see it's coming in 2 years, but what do you do over the next 2 years until you get there? This model solves that issue. We get ongoing work, again we get cash flow. We've got resilience to change, again we get cash flow. We've got multiple fields of discipline, and again we get cash flow. So all of these things keep piling up and compounding on each other, and the company is growing incredibly fast. And then the delivery benefits we get. So managing the standards of projects, we've basically got 4 defined models that we roll out all over the UK, and intelligently named bronze, silver, gold, platinum, whichever one you want, you get. So everybody's on the same side of the table. If you have a problem, it's not the contractor's problem, it's not your problem, it's not their problem. We're all on the same side. We get easy communication, we've got great scheduling, we've got control and increase of the standards. We manage timeframes well, we don't have variations, we reduce cost, and we get to embed values and culture throughout the whole company. So to me, them benefits are worth the grief. They're worth this weight that I now have. They're worth these grey hairs and this lack of hair. And again, that's just showing that slide. So I would strongly encourage people, particularly in the development space, if you're kind of struggling with any of them 3 elements, this is a model that's worth considering. It's an idea that's worth taking on board. Now, it might not be exactly like this, it might not replicate this, it might be different entities, but at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to control them. So right now, we're delivering 43 million in developments. Now, that's the number on the contracts and in project value that we have. But what we have from 43 million is around 10 million profit, which is a really strong margin against that amount of business. And that's because it comes into one element of the business or the other. Things that I think have made the difference over the last 3 years. Number one is I operate the whole company based on values. And in terms of total transparency and absolute honesty, there are the values. I believe that this entire business could be selling kettles. It could be doing anything. It's the property part is just the mechanism. For me, a successful business is based around running your business with great values. And every single member of our team operates within that space. And that, I think, is my biggest tip for anybody that's looking to establish, build, grow, get further. My second tip is vision. So that group structure that I've got all these people telling me they don't understand, they think I'm complicated. In my world, I feel like they lack vision. And I think as a developer in a competitive space, it's incredibly important right now to keep driving vision forward, because you have to separate yourself from the crowd. The better job you do when you're coming across your business, when you're thinking about your schemes, when you're thinking about what it is you can do, the vision is the thing that's going to get you there. Just to give you an example of that, one of the schemes that we're doing right now is an airspace development above a shopping centre, and we've built goalposts around the shopping centre to house the new housing. And that was looking at a scheme that somebody else had said was completely impossible. I think you need absolute drive. I think this is an unforgiving and treacherous industry, that you've got to be the best kind of person you can be in your field, and you've got to continue to drive. I think you require absolute focus. I think you need to find clarity. I think it's really important that you're able to adapt. I've spoken to a few people in the room this evening that have started off moving in one direction and had the ability to just go, right, we're going to go this way. I think that makes a big difference. I think you've got to be prepared to accept risk, because those who risk nothing risk everything, that's a saying. And I think you've got to be prepared to be absolutely brave. And brave is not the same word as fearless, just to throw that out there. Fearless is stupidity. Brave is recognising fear and moving forward. And that's what we've done. And as a result of that, I think that right now we've got a national brand that's established. It's not where I want it to be. It's got room to grow. I'm excited about seeing where it grows. I'm excited about expanding Dapatchi Homes. I'm excited about every single day I get up and go to work, despite the fact that most mornings that's at 5 o'clock, and at most evenings at 10 o'clock at night, I'm still working at what I do. But that's over 3 years, and that's where I've got to. So that's kind of the end of my speech, and I feel like taking an hour down to 20 minutes, I've done pretty well. I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much.